Welcome to another episode of Factually, Opinionated. It's your boy DLee. As you can see, we done changed the environment. I'm solo today, man. Shout out to Bubba, man. But we here. We've been getting a lot of requests to cover football. And so we here to talk about football, man. If you know me, you know I love my Carolina Gamecocks. So sad that we play UNC in Charlotte. So I'm going to give y'all my breakdown and what I predict I'm going to happen in my humblest opinion. I'm going to try my best not to be biased, but I'm going to be biased, all right? So Saturday night, 7:30, game day, UNC versus USC. It's going to be lit. It's a big, big game for both. Like, both of these teams really need to win this game. At South Carolina, North Carolina is one of your, it's weird to say easier opponents, but when you go into the SEC schedule and you go up against the likes of Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, A&M, like when you got to play teams like that on a consistent basis, and then you finish the year off against Clemson, who's probably going to be in the top 10, like games like this where you have even matchups or y'all not far away apart. I think the bet odds are like 2.5. So like they seeing this as a close game. Like when you have a team that's equally a match, you have to take advantage of these games. And I think with North Carolina, with the resume you're gonna have and the schedule that you play in the ACC, you kind of need to win these games, because come back in the back end of the season, you can say, hey, we beat this team. You know, we beat the SEC team. I think in 2018, North Carolina went 11-1, and they one loss was to South Carolina. So, like, things like that really impact down the road. And plus, you just don't want to start the year off 0-1. Like, if you start the year off 0-1, like, that second game, no matter who you play, is pressure, because even if you play like a cupcake team, you still want to be, you got to blow them out, or people going to start questioning the whole season, man. So let's break down North Carolina and what they have, man. If you follow football, you know Drake May. Drake May was, I think, runner-up in the Heisman. Great quarterback. If he leads this year, he's definitely going to be a definite top 10 pick, like, no doubt about it. They lost a lot of people, man. They lost their starting receiver. They lost a lot in the transfer portal. North Carolina has went through a lot. They star receiver from Kent State. I think he had like 1,100 yards last year. He transferred in. NCAA rendered him ineligible to play, which is a big blow, because he was on the Blitz-Cough list, which is the list for the best wide receiver. He was all ACC, I believe. Like, there was high hopes for him. So Drake May to lose a number one receiver like that is a big blow, especially against a team like this. Their defense was not good last year. Like, let's be real. Like, come on. Like, App State, a good team. Don't get me wrong. Appalachian State is a good team, but 61 points on your head is wild, okay? I don't care who you play. 61 on your head is wild. And there were some other games that they allowed high points to some teams that, you know, you just can't allow them to score that much, man. Gene Chizik, their defensive coordinator, there's a lot of, you know, they're very optimistic up in Chapel Hill about their defense. We'll see. But yeah, this team really revolves around Drake May, man. If Drake May hot, they can beat most teams in the country. But if it's up to their defense, you know, they're not going to win a lot of games. That's their Achilles tendon, is if their defense can get any kind of stops, man. So that's what we have in North Carolina, man. South Carolina, very interesting team. Started the year kind of wild. Middle of the year picked up. They beat A&M, something they ain't never did before. Then they went back down, losing 31-6 to Florida. Then it's crazy because they dropped 6 on Florida. Then the next week dropped 63 on the top 5 Tennessee, and go to Clemson and beat Clemson at their house. It was an up and down season. As a Gamecock fan, I think I lost 6 years of my life last season. It's crazy. It's hard. It's hard out here. But Spencer Rattler back, Juice Wells back. Many consider him the best wide receiver in the SEC. Xavier Legette, been around the block a lot. He's back. We all know about Nicholas Harbor, the unicorn, the freak. 6'6", 225, and runs a 4.3. Is, well, I say 225. They list him at 241. Runs 4.3. Insane. This defense is back. You bring back a Nick Emeroy, you bring back DQ Smith, 2 freshman All-American, Marcellus Dow, who's considered one of the more respectable corners in the SEC. You bring back a Tonka Hemingway, who's all SEC. Linebacker core is all new. Brad Johnson gone, Sherrod Green is on, but you bring in a Stone Blanton, Mo Cobbler's back from injury, Jordan Strawn is back from injury. You bring in Pup Howard, the highly touted freshman All-American. You bring in Jatius Greer from Syracuse, big, tall lineman. South Carolina got a lot of pieces. All it is if they can make it gel. And the biggest thing is if they can stop the run. That's been the Achilles tendon for South Carolina for the last 3 years. They haven't been able to stop the run. I think a lot of that has to do with the linebacker core. We have had, I love Brad Johnson and Sherrod Green, but we got to be honest, they was not made to stop the run. In the SEC, you got to be downhill. They wasn't downhill type of players. But you got Debo Williams. He said in his, they interviewed him, he said he wake up to kill. That's why I want to hear my linebacker say. He's the smallest linebacker we have, and he's saying stuff like that. Pup Howard averaged like 14 tackles a game in high school. We know he can get out there. Stone Blanton is a downhill run stopper. Carolina has made it a focus to stop the run this year. The secondary with Clayton Wright, Torian Gray, they have gotten that right. They've often had some of the best pass defense in the last few years. You think about some of the people that South Carolina has brought out in the draft. Cam Smith was drafted last year. J.C. Horn was top 10. Rashad Fenton is in the NFL. Keyshawn Nixon was a Pro Bowl last year. Even though it was in kick returning, he was still a Pro Bowl caliber player. Israel, I can't say his last name, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Big Izzy on the Cowboys, doing real good. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But either way, we know South Carolina consistently has great perimeter players outside on defense. So the matchup really, I think, is which team comes in prepared. This is the first game of the season. It's a lot of what ifs. It's a lot of questions on both sides. North Carolina, is their defense going to do what they need to do to win? Who's going to catch the ball? You know, they don't have any proven receivers. They have good receivers, high potential, but none that are proven to be number one. They lost their number one. So who's going to step up in that role for Carolina? Are they going to stop the run? How is Rattler going to adjust to this new offense ran by Darryl Loggins? It's a lot of questions. But in my humble opinion, I think about it, I weigh in. A lot of analysts say, yeah, this Charlotte is right in the middle. It is in the middle of Chapel Hill and Columbia, but Carolina travels. And if South Carolina has a game within 2 hours, best believe they're going to pack it out more than the other team. I'm looking for like a 60-65. It's going to be rocking. Carolina fans are excited. It's going to be crazy. But in my humble opinion, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game just because it's the first game of the year. Both teams are getting acclimated to a lot of new faces on both their defenses. Both quarterbacks are good. Rattler and Drake May, both of them are great quarterbacks. So I'm leaning towards a more high-scoring game. But with all the non-bias in my heart, all the non-bias, I'm going to say South Carolina wins 44-35. I'm going to go with that. I think Drake May will be able to put up numbers. Like I say, he's the best quarterback in college football, not named Caleb Williams. They can move the ball. They always could. Drake May, when you have a quarterback that good, it don't matter who's catching for him. He can make receivers better. Carolina defense has a lot of new faces. They're young. But I think they'll be able to get just enough pressure and make just enough stops to help out the offense. I think South Carolina offense is going to be electric. Rattler looks like he's back to his confident self. Anytime you ask him about the offense, he's talking about how much he loves it. Loggins runs a very quarterback-friendly offense. And then you just look at the weapons he got around him. Juice Wells. Xavier Legette is a matchup problem. Brown runs a 4-3. Like, he's going to stretch the field. We haven't even talked about the freak that they have out there in Nicholas Harbor. 240 and can run a 4-3 at 6'5". Like, you give him that. Trey Knox, the transfer tight end, another big 6'5", 240-pound target. Then you have the running game, which a lot of people have questions about. The Carryon Joyner, who has played every position on the offense short of line for Carolina. He comes in and plays running back. I think he will adjust well. He has the body for a running back, man. He's 6'1", but they listed him at 230. That's a very, very big running back. He's comfortable with the ball in his hands. He can read. He can look at the game with a quarterback's eyes, despite being a running back, just from the nature of him playing that position. So, I'm looking for him to have a potential 50, 50, 50, and 50 game. 50 rushing, 50 passing, 50 catching, and 50 kick return, because we all know that in that Duke Mayo Bowl 2 years ago, he was the star. He threw, 6 total passes and had 2 touchdowns. I won't be surprised if Beamer start the game out with the Carryon at quarterback, just a poke and jab at North Carolina, man. But yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'm just happy. Football back. It feel like football been going for 3 years, and I know he ain't been that long, but we all just been waiting. College football back. Y'all be happy about it. I'm going to try to bring y'all an outlook on every Carolina game this year. Be as unbiased as I possibly can. Bring y'all that once a week. Look out for a video on the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. We got some things to talk about. I'm tired of the disrespect, man. But we going to talk about them one day.